Okay, I'm Lynn, and I have two children, well, three. Nathan, who's married to my daughter Adrian. Adrian's the eldest. She's, okay, I won't say her age. And then we have Carl, who's our youngest, and a 14-month-old baby grandson who's Cole, which we waited for a long, long time. And he's such a joy and such a gift.
And I'm Geoff. I think most folk at St. James will know who I am. Been involved in the leadership of the church for a number of years now. Both Lynn and I joined St. James over 20 years ago. And it's been an absolute blessing for us to be part of the St. James Fellowship.
Yeah, I think the virus affected the entire world, and everybody was challenged. To live through that was quite heavy. And then when it hit as close to home as our own children, when we heard that both Adrian and Nathan tested positive, and we assumed that Cole also had it, the virus is so unpredictable. But through that, the Lord just gave us a sense of peace, knowing that He would undertake through our situation, and He would protect us. Adrian and Nathan, they are doing much better. They still have lingering symptoms, but we know that God is going to heal them. And we are so grateful that Nathan doesn't have any long-term damage, which is just a miracle.
So what Lynn's not telling us in terms of the story is that Nathan actually got to the point that we thought we were going to lose him. And it was an emotional roller coaster such as we've not experienced in a long time. God has been gracious to us. God has been merciful. We want to be careful not to suggest almost a triumphalism about it, because we know a lot of people lost their lives. A lot of people have been severely affected and damaged by COVID-19. But our story is actually a story of God's providence. From the point that Nathan felt ill enough to call a doctor and for him to be taken to hospital, that's when we got the call. We knew there was something wrong because they hadn't been in touch with us for a couple of days. And when they called us on the Saturday to say both Nathan and Aiden were positive, Nathan wasn't breathing okay, they rushed him to hospital. That's when we decided we needed to be there. And we then got on the plane the next morning and flew up. And over the next 2 weeks, it was touch and go for Nathan. His condition deteriorated. He had a light flow of oxygen initially, then the full flow, whatever they call it, and that didn't help. And then they took the decision to put him on the ventilator. And I think that's the point that we really felt at our lowest, because we know not many people actually survive the ventilator. And that's when we had people praying all over the show, not only locally but abroad as well. And Lynn's absolutely correct. It's because of God's grace and because of the prayers of God's people that we believe we've come through this dark period. It was a very dark period for us, and sitting in the middle of the night and just resting with God and asking God those typical questions that we'd ask. Why does this young man with a 13-month-old baby have to go through this? But those questions were answered by God in the way in which He undertook, and He just carried us through that journey. So we have a greater understanding of the power of God. We have a greater understanding of God's presence. And then, if I may say that, in Nathan and Adrian, both, they've rediscovered, I think Nathan's comment was, God had to heal him spiritually in order to bring him through this physical experience. And so we've been praying for Adrian and Nathan, and I'm sure they don't mind us saying that. And so today, both Nathan and Adrian can speak about the greatness of God and the graciousness of God and the mercy of God and how He's worked in their lives. So the personal testimony that they're able to share has been an evangelistic call for lots of people, I believe.
Through every hardship, and we down in that valley, we know that we can call upon the Lord in our time of trouble. And the thing is, we mustn't look back. We must look forward and persevere. And God is there. He gives you peace and calmness, and He just gives you clear thinking. And you can only experience that when you have a relationship with Him.
And so I think our theme for this year sums it up perfectly. Keep your eye on the prize. And the prize is that relationship, the righteousness that comes from God, that relationship with God, and an encouragement to God's people to remain faithful and to continue to persevere. Joshua 1 verse 9 is my theme verse, is my favorite verse, and the assurance that He's given us, that He's with us wherever we go and in any circumstance of our lives.